All right, guys, hopefully this works. This is Mrs. Jones' Asia report. I took the liberty of filling out the first half. This is what your first half should look like if done properly. Just to recap her case, she's an L2, L3, L4 vertebrae fracture. She fell off a ladder and got rushed into surgery, successfully stabilized, and was ordered for PT and a Asia to be done. So starting off, we're going to figure out what her totals are. And so if we're looking at the motor on the right-hand side, with some math, we'll find that she has a 37 here. And then with our sensory, both light touch and pinprick, she has 48s. Because she is bilaterally the same, I'm just going to take over here and fill those in as well. Next, we need to go down to our motor subscores and our sensory subscores. So upper extremity on the right, she's got perfect, 25. Same thing with the left, totaling out to 50. Next, we have our lower extremity on the right. She comes out to a 12 here. And same thing on the left, coming to a 24 total. Sensory, she's 48s across the board. 48 plus 48 is 96. Okay, so now that we got all of our values, we can come down and figure out our both sensory, motor, and neurological levels. Starting off with the sensory level, what we're looking for here is the lowest level that a 2 is shown bilaterally, and so we find that right here at L4, which I'll highlight for you on both sides. And as you can see, there's 2s going all the way up above it on both sides, so we have L4 sensory levels. Moving into motor, we're looking for the first level that shows either a 5 or higher, or well, you can't go higher, so a 5, and then has a 4 or a 3 beneath it if we can. And so L3 here does show a 5, but because that's a 4 at L2, that's doesn't count. So we're going to come up to L2, which moving into L1, we see 2s, which substitute for our lack of a motor component that we can test within the trunk. And then T1 through C5 all being 5s as well. So we can now say that L2, which I'll go over to orange here, is our motor level. So over here as well. And back down here. So L2. And then our neurological level, we're looking for the lowest level in which we have a complete sensory and we have motor that is either a 3 or higher with a 5 above it. So as we just showed there, that's going to have to be our L2 as well. Incomplete or complete, we just look at our S4, S5 component to see if they have voluntary anal contraction and deep pressure, which he does, though it's impaired. It doesn't matter, it's still an incomplete. And then figuring out our Asia, A, B, C, D, etc. First, we can rule out A by knowing that it's an incomplete injury. Next is B. We need to see if there's motor more than 3 levels beneath the motor level. And so since we decided that L2 was our motor level, we can count them out, 1, 2, and 3. And so this 1 right here is more than 3 levels beneath. So we know he's at least a C or a D. Once we go to figure out if he's a C or a D, we need to decide whether or not there's half or more than half of our motor units beneath it that give us a value of 3 or higher. We have the 5 here, and then every single other one is beneath a 3. And so that means our Mrs. Smith, or Mrs. Jones rather, is a C on her Asia impairment scale. Zone of partial preservation is irrelevant in this case because she is incomplete. That's her grading.